Welcome to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be getting a little bit of work done on the GTR, so stay tuned. Alright, so the glass man's here. I'm going to get him to cut out this right quarter glass. Alright, so he got this thing cut out, didn't break it, all the rubber seals look good. Yeah, he made it look easy. Alright, so we've got a package in, and I think this is the engine leveler. Let's get this thing unboxed so we can get that GTR engine out of the back of my truck. So I was able to carve out some time to work on my GTR today. I think we're going to start off by getting this damaged strut tower out and try to make the most of our time. Let's get to work. So these strut towers are glued and bolted to the car, and the glue releases with heat, and this got plenty hot, so in theory I should be able to just take all the bolts out and the strut tower just come right off. So let's get this tire off, give me some more room, and I'll find all the bolts and get them all taken out. And hopefully this strut tower just comes right out. Easy peasy. Hopefully. So with the wheel off, you can kind of see better where all the bolts are and what I need to take off to get this piece off. These are all 12mm bolts here, and it looks like there's multiple all the way around the perimeter of this strut tower. This also has a hole here with some brake lines coming down through it. I'm going to have to take these brake lines loose and pull them up through the hole. There's a couple bolts, looks like bolting from the other side. And the strut tower will have to be taken loose from the strut, but it's all mangled up there. Not sure if I can get them apart, so I may have to take the strut loose from the lower control arm here and take the strut off with the strut tower. So let's start taking all these bolts off and see how this thing goes. Alright, so I'm going to take these brake lines loose, and whenever you're doing brake lines, or any lines for that matter, you want to use a line wrench, and that's what the line wrench looks like. And these are 10mm. It basically grabs more of the shoulders on this nut so it doesn't strip it out. Let's get this stuff loose and get this piece taken off. Now, these brake lines are trash. I could probably just cut them and get the stuff out of the way, but got the wrench already, so let's get this stuff taken apart. Alright, so I got pretty much everything loose from this strut tower, but the way it's bent, it's shrouding 2 or 3 of these bolts, so I'm going to have to bend this back. I'm going to try to stick a pipe in there and try to bend it back so that I can get to these bolts. And those are the last bolts holding this on. I should be able to get it off after that. I got this strut tower bent out of the way to unshroud these bolts, but it had actually a pleasant consequence of me doing that. This metal piece right here was bent a lot worse, and when I started bending the strut tower over, it started straightening this little piece right here. See, this is what it's supposed to look like, basically that right there. And I've got it most of the way bent to where it's supposed to be, but before I unbolt this, I think I'm going to stick this jack handle back in there, kind of tweak it around, see if I can get this as straight as possible before I take this piece off. Alright, something else I see, this little heat shield for these fuel lines is bolted to the strut tower in the front here. So we're going to go ahead and move this heat shield, and hopefully that's the last thing I got to take off to get this piece off. Alright, so this thing's not coming out super easy, and I'm actually cutting pieces off to try to, I thought it was wedged in there, but come to realize there's actually a bolt that I didn't take out right there. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Let me get this bolt out, and this thing should come right out. It helps if you take all the bolts out. Alright, so we got this strut tower taken out, so now let's move back to the inside of the car and get this aluminum piece taken out. Now, in an earlier video, I attempted to take it out. I took all the bolts out, and I assumed that the heat from inside the car would have released the glue, but it didn't, and I was thinking I was just going to leave it in, but I'm not going to let that thing whoop me. I'm going to go ahead and get that thing taken out before I get it blasted. Alright, so this is a two-man job. I got my brother to help me. There's 2 jobs here. There's going to be a pusher who's going to sit in the trunk and push with his legs, and there's going to be a heat guy who's going to be inside the dirty car with the torch and heating up the glue. Which one do you want to be?
Trunk.
Push guy? Okay. So climb in the trunk and get ready to start pushing, and I'll climb in the car and put some heat on this thing. Alright, you look pretty comfortable in there. You ready to start pushing?
Yeah, let's get this done.
Alright, so I'm going to use a torch to heat this up. And anytime you use open flame on a car, especially one that's jinxed about fire, you have an extinguisher close by. So I've got this here. I'm going to climb in here with this torch and start heating on the perimeter of this aluminum piece. Alright, so I got this piece out, and you can see where the glue was. Basically ran down the sides, all across the bottom, and up the other side. I thought it would have ran across the top, and that's where it was loose. That's where I was thinking that the glue had already turned loose, but there was no glue there anyway. So we got this thing popped loose. It should make a lot easier to get this thing blasted. He'll be able to blast in here and not have to worry about that wall. and they'll be able to get clean behind it, especially over there where it got hot. So let's move on to the next step. So for the next step, I think I'm going to take the suspension and the cradles off this thing. I'll probably drop it all out as one unit. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the wheels and tires off. Then we'll go around and take all the top bolts of the struts out, and then get the car lifted up and get everything ready to drop the cradles. So it looks like the gas tank is separate from the cradle. It's actually being held to the body with straps, and I should be able to drop the cradle and leave the tank, and then drop the tank separately. The shocks are loose. This brake line needs to be taken loose. Once I get the brake line taken loose on both sides, I can set the car down onto this little dolly here, take all the bolts out of the cradle, and then raise the car up off of the cradle. See, this clip basically slides into this groove, which holds this line to the car. Alright, so now we're going to get this front cradle dropped down. The passenger side is all the way taken apart. Got to work on getting this side apart so I can get this thing dropped down. So it looks like this ABS plug needs to come off from the frame rail here, and it'll come off with the suspension. The upper control arm is mounted to the strut tower, and the bolts, if you try to loosen them, they want to hit the strut, so we have to take the strut off or either take it loose from here. And I think I would rather just take the strut off and get these bolts out, because this has got to come off anyways. So we'll get the strut taken out, get these bolts out of the upper control arm, get it loose from the strut tower, and get the brake line loose, and we should be able to drop this cradle. We've got the front and the rear cradle assemblies out of this thing. The next big thing is going to be this fuel tank. And it looks like it's held in with a couple of straps and maybe a couple of bolts. And it shouldn't be too bad. Unfortunately, it's getting kind of late, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get this gas tank out. We'll have to save it for another day. I'm going to clean up my mess here, put up all my tools, and head to the house.
If you're tempted to fight fire with fire, remember the fire department usually uses water.
Alright, so that's going to be about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and clicking on the bell icon. That way you won't miss any future videos. If you have any thoughts or questions, you can leave it in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya!
When tempted to...
Okay then.